For some reason, it feels like I haven't been on in a really long time. And I was just on Friday, but that might mean I had a good weekend. I really liked the peaceful meditation that we played, music that we played last time. But maybe we will play something else. While I wait for people to get in here, if you're in here, please comment, say hi, so I know you're here. I can start reading, or we can start talking about your weekend. Good morning, Andrew. So glad you're in here. Let me find something to listen to. Green heart. Green, my favorite. If only they had different color greens emojis instead of just the what do we want to call it? Matrix green? Green from the Matrix? I don't know. I'm just clicking a random playlist. I don't. How was your weekend, Andrew? Mine was pretty good. Big Juice. Where are you watching me, Big Juice? On Twitter? Good to see you. How was your Easter, if you celebrate it? It did not feel like Easter to me this year. Thumbs up for what? The weekend? I don't know. Last year we kind of had like, there was no Easter really. We as a family, we did like a How are you commenting through Periscope? How? I'm very curious. You found an Easter bunny. Last year we did like a Zoom Easter, and normally I cook a bunch of stuff and make a big meal and buy candy and color eggs, and I didn't do any of that stuff. None of it. Last year I think I was really focused on trying to like create some kind of like calm and normalcy for everyone. I guess this is my like year off. I don't know. Am I coming in good? How does the app still work? How is this possible? Because when I get on, I just get a notice. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna read you a poem, guys. Isn't this month National Poetry Month, or did I imagine that? I'm gonna read you a poem by Ayla. But first I'll tell you what I did yesterday for Easter. Or this weekend, really. I watched 3 things. Which is which is a big deal because I haven't watched TV, anything. Like I don't have a Netflix subscription anymore or Hulu. And I just haven't spent any time watching anything. No TV shows. What are we listening to? So I finished up. I'm halfway through this certification thing. I finally finished on Saturday. And I'm like, okay, I need to take some time off. I need to take a few days off, maybe a week before I get back to it, because at one point I had flunked a 2-question quiz like 10 times. Like it was really bad. I was getting super frustrated. So anyway, Saturday night, I watched a movie with Ayla. We laid in bed and watched a movie called Radioactive. And who has seen that movie? It is about Marie Curie. And I forget the name of the actress who plays her, but it was a really good performance. Let me look her name up. I like this song. Anyway, it came out in 2019, I guess. And the actress's name is Rosamund Pike. Rosamund Pike plays Marie Curie in it. And I think she's beautiful and a really good actress. Although parts of it were like really overdone. Good morning, Kelly. How are you commenting, Kelly? You look like you're commenting through Periscope. How is this happening? It's really intense. I think generally the story of Marie Curie is really intense. And parts I didn't like about the movie, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who wants to watch it, but it pans to the way that they have the timeline set up. It's very like, you're in this time, and then you're in this time, and then you're in this time, and you're like, it's exhausting. And like, you obviously know what time you're in because of the scene and the set and everything and the characters, and how they age and stuff, but it was annoying. That part was really annoying. But like the love story it's called Radioactive. Have you seen it? It's about Marie Curie. And I'm glad I watched it with Ayla, because there's really not enough stories, media, whatever, what have you, about like women scientists. And she was treated like shit, you all. Like, and they did a good job. They did a good job showing that. Like, she got kicked out of her lab at the very beginning of the movie, and at the end of the movie, they end up like asking her to be. I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but I mean, it follows like history. But she was a Polish Jew, and at one time, like the French press, not this French press, my nasty, unclean French press, really like drug her name through the mud and like treated her like a second-class citizen. It was terrible. Anyway, so we watched that on Saturday night. What did you do, Kelly, this weekend? What did you do for Easter? And then yesterday, we met up with Elaine and Jabari for pizza, and I actually sat in a restaurant and ate something. I ate pizza inside a restaurant with other people. Granted, the other people were like on the completely different side of the restaurant, so it was like we were alone, but there were other people in the building, and I had my mask off, and we ate pizza, and it was like, wow. And it was lunch. It wasn't dinner. And then things are still pretty much locked down. So Yeah, I was, like, playing with fire. I was feeling confident, and Elaine and Jabari are vaccinated too, so oh my gosh, she's I just said Elena and she texted me just then. Oh my gosh, she's starting her new job. That's so weird when that happens. As I was bringing it up, I'm like, when is this gonna happen? Like, when are they giving you your onboarding and start date? I was just saying this yesterday. Anyway, so there wasn't much to do except enjoy the beautiful day, which I would have loved to do, but I'm always like, let's go outside and hike, or let's do something outside, and I was outvoted. So we went back to Elaine and Jabari's apartment and we watched TV. Well, it'll be a second job for a minute. Um, so we'll see. I don't know. It sounds kind of scary. I'll tell you the details later, Andrew. Sounds kind of scary to me. I don't know if I would do it. Anyway, so we went to their apartment and watched another film, another like movie. I guess it was just about all about rest this weekend for me, which is good because I feel much better mentally today than I have in a few days so far. Um, we watched this little movie on Netflix called My Octopus Teacher. Who has seen this or heard of this? Andrew, Kelly, if you guys are still in here. My Octopus Teacher. And it's about, oh, is it? Oh, I don't want to ruin it, but I loved it. Um, I wanted to cry. Like, I think I just need to cry soon. I don't know. I welled up a couple of times recently, but I don't know about you guys, but it feels like sometimes I get to where like I need some kind of emotional. I may be emotionally constipated. Is that what I'm trying to say? Um, Lalo, hi. Thanks for coming in. Um, Lalo, for some reason, people are commenting through Periscope, and I don't understand how that's possible. But maybe you guys, I already took the app off my phone, so that's how I was like by then, how much I was invested in the app after they shut down. Um, My Octopus Teacher, watch it before it leaves Netflix, please. It's so beautiful, and it's based in this guy. I'll just tell you the premise. This guy is really burnt out in his life, and he ends up snorkeling. Dr. X, good morning, guys. Everybody's coming in. I'm talking about a movie that I watched over the weekend that I want everyone to watch. Um, he's like burnt out on life, and he starts snorkeling every day. Um, and I guess he lives right on the ocean and can do these things like snorkel every day. And he somehow befriends a wild octopus in like a kelp forest, and I think he filmed the entire thing himself. I think he's a filmographer, videographer, whatever, cinematographer, whatever. He filmed the entire thing himself, so the footage it's beautiful, but it has that like self-filmed look. Anyway, just a touching uh movie, and you wouldn't think, oh, a story about a man and an octopus, like that they could form some kind of emotional bond, and not to ruin it for you all, but they do. And it's wonderful. And I just felt so renewed and like hopeful for humanity at the end of it. Um, anyway, recommend. Also, you I take into consideration I haven't watched television in weeks and weeks and weeks. So, oh, Ayla wrote a poem yesterday, and I don't know if she wrote it after. It's called My Octopus Teacher. My Octopus Teacher. Wonderful, wonderful little film. I would watch it again actually, just to be in this like liminal. I'm swaying back and forth this liminal underwater world that this takes place. He goes out and he snorkels every day for almost an entire year to film this. And just the like the daily practice of doing something like that for an entire year. It reminds me of like how I felt when I was walking every single day and oh, which reminds me, I my first week of my program, my running program is done. I'm very proud of it. Proud of doing this the first week. Now this week, I'm gonna continue to run, but I'm trying to like upgrade my life. So this week I'm intentionally drinking more water. So I'm going to drink like 3 times more water than I have been normally drinking, which isn't a lot. Um, but I'm trying to work out to where I'm drinking like at least the recommended like amount of water, 8 ounce glasses of water a day, because I don't. I haven't. So I'm increasing my water intake this week. This is my small change. Last week was a huge change. Starting running, and my body has been like, what are we doing? What are we doing right now? You think you can run? What? Anyway, Ayla wrote a poem, and she came into here in the bedroom last night, and she said, I wrote a love poem. I was inspired, and I think she was inspired by the movie. Do you want to read it? And I said, yes, of course. And then after I read it, and I was like, oh, this is amazing, she said, do you want to read it on your live stream in the morning? Of course I do. What? Let me pull it up. Not only did she write it, but because she's spider. Oh, don't talk to me about spiders. There was spider drama. There was a spider after Ayla and I watched that radioactive movie, and I'm like looking where it is. We watched this radioactive movie, and there was a rather large spider next to my bed on the floor that I ended up flushing, and I'm not proud of it. But I was scared of it, and Ayla and I ended up freaking ourselves out. Like I'm like, help me flush this, flush this thing. So she went in the bathroom and like lifted the lid up so I could like throw it in the toilet, and then she slammed the lid down and flushed it because it started crawling, and we both started screaming. So we had this like really intense spider interaction, and then we're like looking at each other like we don't know what to do with ourselves. It was bedtime. It was right before we were going to bed, and she said, well, sleep well. And then went into her room. But yeah, it was right next to my bed. Anyway, back to the poem that she wrote, because it's her. I feel bad, but oh my god, she was like, sleep well, mother. with spiders right next to your bed. Um, anyway, she not only did she write this poem, but she put it in this. She did it on her. You can't see on her iPad, so it's yeah, yes. So it's like this beautiful um image that she's made in the background, and it's called Beach Walk. Are you ready? I'm gonna turn it this way so I can read it better. And it's a love poem. And a love poem written by a 13-year-old, like the most innocent 13-year-old that you'll ever meet. Anyway, my love for you is like standing where the ocean meets the shore and letting the water pull the sand over your feet. It's simple to dig myself out, but I don't want to. You are like the ocean breeze. I will never be bored of your company. And if you shall ever leave me, I shall never love another as I have loved you. My footprints disappear behind me, and I am no longer I can no longer remember one day you didn't have my heart. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you, Dr. X. That's so sweet. What do you think of that? Sorry, maybe you don't like it, but I cannot be persuaded otherwise. I think it's brilliant and beautiful. So you can write love poetry even if you've never been in love. She was like, I just felt like writing a love poem. Oh, it's so great. And she wanted you guys to hear it. So, how cute is that? Um, I think she was probably really inspired by the movie that we had watched, the My Octopus Teacher. And when you watch it, you'll be inspired too, I'm sure. Okay, guys. We have a chapter of Siddhartha to read. Um, and don't worry if you haven't been keeping up. We will give you a. We'll update you. Siddhartha is a prince, a Brahmin. Lives in the lap of luxury. He has a best friend, Govinda, and he and Govinda decide to leave the palace, leave, um, a life of comfort and security, and go be ascetics, where they became half starved, not even half starved, like almost completely starved. And it seemed like some pyramid scheme where they're begging for rice for their elder ascetics. Then they hear about this guy Gautama Buddha, and there's this gut feeling that this guy's got it going on. So they leave and go find Gautama, who turns out is the real deal. Govinda's like, this is it. I found my path. I'm going to sit here in the forest and listen to Gautama preach, and I'm going to meditate, live the life, still beg for bowls of rice, because apparently they're all about that life, or he's all about that life, and so is Gautama Buddha. And then, but when Govinda asks Siddhartha if he's going to, he says no, which is so crushing. Yes, like the Samwise Gamgee has decided to leave the Frodo situation, so we're kind of like really upset about that. But the band broke up. Siddhartha, Gautama Buddha calls Siddhartha clever and to be wary of being so clever. I brought up this is the second time I've read it, but I feel like it feels like the first time, because I think my life situation has changed so much. But it felt like, Siddhartha is rightly pointing out, okay, your teachings are accurate, but he doesn't actually say it. But you are still sitting in the forest, not really doing anything, and begging for bowls of rice and preaching. Granted, um, how else do you spread the message, the good word? Else do you spread the good word other than to devote your entire life doing so? So there's that. Anyway, Siddhartha leaves. Um, he's like a feather on the wind at this point. And the title of this chapter is called Awakening. So let's get into it and see what happens. As Siddhartha left the grove in which the Buddha, the perfect one, remained, in which Govinda remained, he felt that he had also left his former life behind him in the grove. Excuse me. As he slowly went on his way, his head was full of his thought. He reflected deeply until this feeling completely overwhelmed him, and he reached a point where he recognized causes. For to recognize causes, it seemed to him, is to think, and through thought alone, feelings become knowledge, and are not lost, but become real and begin to mature. Let me read that again, and let's talk about this. Um, talk about this idea that he's laying out here. He reflected deeply until this feeling completely overwhelmed him, and he reached a point where he recognized causes. So he's recognizing that he's feeling that he's overwhelmed because of his feelings. For to recognize causes, it seemed to him, is to think. Okay, so it's like this weird meta. Okay, I'm thinking about thinking now. And through thought alone, feelings become knowledge and are not lost. Sounds like a bit like intuition, but become real and begin to mature. So, our thoughts. This is a bit dense right here, but our thoughts, the origins of feelings. Do feelings have origins in thought? I'm asking you. Siddhartha reflected deeply as he went on his way. He realized that he was no longer a youth, he was now a man. He realized that something had left him, like the old skin that a snake sheds. Something was no longer in him, something that had accompanied him right through his youth and was a part of him. This was the desire to have teachers and to listen to their teachings. He had left the last teacher he had met, even he, the greatest and the wisest teacher, the holiest, the Buddha. He had to leave him. He could not accept his teachings. Slowly, the thinker went on his way and asked himself. So I love how right now they're calling him the thinker. What he's asked himself, what is it you wanted to learn from teachings and teachers? And although they taught you much, what was it they could not teach you? And he thought it was the self, the character, the nature of which I wished to learn. I wanted to rid myself of the self, to conquer it, but I could not conquer it. I could only deceive it, could only fly from it, could only hide from it. Truly, nothing in the world has occupied my thoughts as much as the self, this riddle that I live, that I am one and am separated and different from everybody else, that I am Siddhartha. And about nothing in the world do I know less than about myself, about Siddhartha. The thinker, slowly going his way, suddenly stood, gripped by this thought, and another thought immediately arose from this one. It was the reason why I do not know anything about myself, the reason why Siddhartha has remained alien and unknown to myself is due to one thing, to one single thing. I was afraid of myself. I was fleeing from myself. I was seeking Brahman, Atman. I wished to destroy myself, to get away from myself, in order to find it, or in order to find in the unknown, innermost, the nucleus of all things, Atman, life, the divine, the absolute. But by doing so, I lost myself on the way. The only way out is through. Siddhartha looked up and around him a smile crept over his face, and a strong feeling of awakening from a long dream spread right through his being. Immediately he walked on again, quickly, like a man who knows what he has to do. Yes, he thought, breathing deeply, I will no longer try to escape from Siddhartha. I will no longer devote my thoughts to Atman and the sorrows of the world. I will no longer mutilate and destroy myself in order to find a secret behind the ruins. I will no longer study Yoga Veda, Atharva Veda, or asceticism, or any other teachings. I will learn from myself, be my own pupil. I will learn from myself the secret of Siddhartha. If you were Siddhartha right now, what would that look like to you? Would you be maybe like ripping off the band-aid of addiction, of overeating, of overexercising, of overworking? If you weren't running away from yourself, what would that look like? He looked around him as if seeing the world for the first time. The world was beautiful, strange, and mysterious. Here was blue, here was yellow, here was green, sky and river, woods and mountains, all beautiful, all mysterious and enchanting. And in the midst of it, he, Siddhartha, the awakened one, on the way to himself. All this, all of that, buying things, purchasing things because you think that it will somehow solve something about you that's not right. So many ways that we do it just by living in the world. Drinking coffee so you feel awake, so you don't have to feel tired, so you don't have to feel age creeping up, age and foggy mindedness creeping up on you. This sentence right here, because of the colors, Andrew. All this yellow and blue, river and wood, passed for the first time across Siddhartha's eyes. It was no longer the magic of Mara. It was no more the veil of Maya. It was no longer meaningless in the chance diversities of the appearance of the world, despised by deep-thinking Brahmins who scorned diversity, who sought unity. River was river, and if the one and divine in Siddhartha secretly lived in blue and river, it was just the divine art and intention that there should be yellow and blue, the sky and the wood. And here, Siddhartha, meaning and reality were not hidden somewhere behind things. They were in them, in all of them. Meaning and reality were not hidden somewhere, guys. It's not hidden. It's not a mystery. It's not occult. It is not occult. It is mundane. It is in our faces. It's mine too. Have you noticed a mental shift since Saturday? Have you noticed your thinking has cleared any since Saturday? Cleared, or maybe intensified? Maybe your anxiety has intensified? I feel like mine has. Since last weekend, not this last weekend, but the weekend before, because of some personal, like, scary things have come up for me. And I feel like this last weekend I noticed that I'm thinking about my situation a little more clear than I was the previous week. Like, I noticed that Well, Mercury has I don't wanna make this about astrology, but if you're into it, if you're into astrology, if you buy into that, if you have any buy-in with that whole thing, but Mercury, moved into Aries in, on Saturday, and so we have more my natal Mercury's in Pisces, which is what it has been, but Mercury in Aries is much more direct. It's not, floaty and poetic. It's much more executive and intense. I felt a shift, just looking, being able to observe, um, potentials of why my inner state has gone off. That's true. And that's almost the exact revelation I had. And I was like, well, what in the past when I was feeling good, when I was feeling like way more upbeat and positive about and optimistic about things, what in my life has changed? And I realized, there's just little things in my life, that I let slide, like little tiny routines, and maybe perhaps little tiny routines like, doing like my little breath work exercises in the morning, that might have like a big potential impact on like how I feel and think the rest of the day. I don't know. And it doesn't make sense for me not to feel good because it's beautiful. The world is beautiful right now. There's flowers everywhere. Matt, hello. Um, the air just smells beautiful. I know. I know. Oh my gosh. Um, I like to use astrology as a jumping off point. I don't like to use it to dictate things, but I do like to use it to like as a doorway to reframe. What does that mean? You hosted me. What does that mean? On Twitch, in Twitch terms. Um, I'm very interested. Hi. I'm very interested in using it as more of like it's a psychological tool rather than a Polaris than a because I'm anti. I don't want to say hosted my. Well, thank you. I don't know what that means, but thank you, Matthew, for doing that. Um, it's the same as drawing like a tarot card. Dr. X, are you into tarot at all? It's like this element of I'm into tarot, I'm into astrology, I'm very into archetypes and Carl Jung, depth psychology. I'm very into shadow integration. So if something comes into my worldview where that like disrupts like a normal pattern of thinking that I can kind of um, pick apart and see. Yeah, and it might be, how much water are you drinking? How much are you exercising? I feel like with so many planets in Aries, okay, with so many planets in Aries, Aries is a very athletic sign. There's so much energy, create a creative energy. There's that meme, like everybody loves to make fun of like people saying I'm depressed and then their friend saying, "Well, have you exercised?" And they're like they just want to like kill the other person because that's the last thing you want to do when you're depressed, or feeling unstable and chaotic is start like an exercise program. But if there was ever a time, oh really? How wild. Um I have this new. I would love to do like talk about tarot or archetypes more if you're into it. Like we are all we all of us are all of the archetypes. I feel like we just have dominant um, narratives that play out in our individual lives depending on what happens. Okay, excellent. And I've got to get back to this book. We are almost done with this chapter, and we'll talk about. Um, oh, okay. We are so close to finishing this chapter, and we can talk about this more in a second. How deaf and stupid I have been, he thought, walking on quickly. When anyone reads anything which he wishes to study, he does not despise the letters and punctuation marks and call them illusion, chance, and worthless shells, but he reads them, he studies and loves them, letter by letter. But I, who wished to read the book of the world and the book of my own nature, did presume to despise the letters and signs. I called the world of appearances illusions. I called my eyes and tongue chance. Now it is over. I have awakened. I have indeed awakened and have only been born today. Um, this is solid advice. Like when shit things happen to you, um, it could be not your fault. I know it's hard for um, a lot of people to think, um, when bad things happen, it could just be like completely not, um, it could just be that they happened and it's not about you at all. But all these thoughts passed through Siddhartha's mind. But as these thoughts passed through Siddhartha's mind, he suddenly stood still as if a snake lay in his path. Then suddenly, this also was clear to him. He, who was in fact like the one who had wakened or was newly born, must begin his life completely afresh. When he left the Jetavana grove that morning, the grove of the illustrious one, already awakened, already on the way to himself, it was his intention, and it seemed the natural course for him, after the years of his asceticism, to return to his home and his father. Now, however, in that moment, as he stood still, as if a snake lay in his path, this thought also came to him. I am no longer what I was. I am no longer an ascetic, no longer a priest, no longer a Brahmin. What then shall I do at home with my father? Study? Offer sacrifices? Practice meditation? All this is over for me now. I love it. I freaking love this. This is so like, this is such like an appropriate thing to be talking about right now. It's spring, even if you aren't into tarot or if you aren't like if you're not into tarot or astrology or anything, it's spring here in the northern hemisphere anyway. Like winter's over. Winter's over. Like you can't live in your house and lay in your bed covered in blankets. Like you throw the weighted blanket off, take your socks off, put sandals on or no shoes at all, go outside, the grass is green. That life is over. Siddhartha stood still, and for a moment an icy chill stole over him. He shivered inwardly like a small animal, like a bird or a hare, when he realized how alone he was. He had been homeless for years and had not felt like this. Now he did feel it. Previously, when in deepest meditation he was still his father's son. He was a Brahmin of high standing, a religious man. Now he was only Siddhartha, the awakened, otherwise nothing else. He breathed in deeply, and for a moment he shuddered. Nobody was so alone as he. He was no nobleman belonging to any aristocracy, no artisan belonging to any guild and finding refuge in it, sharing its life and language. He was no Brahmin, sharing the life of the Brahmins, no ascetic belonging to the Samanas. it is. It is. Even the most secluded hermit in the woods was not alone, and alone he also belonged to a class of people. Govinda had become a monk, and thousands of monks were his brothers, wore the same gown, shared his beliefs, and spoke his language. But he, Siddhartha, where did he belong? Whose life would he share? Whose language would he speak? At that moment, when the world around him melted away, when he stood alone, like a star in the heavens, he was overwhelmed by a feeling of icy despair. But he was more firmly himself than ever. That was the last shudder of his awakening, the last pains of birth. Immediately, he moved on again and began to walk quickly and impatiently, no longer homewards, no longer to his father, no longer looking backwards. And that ends part 1. What do you do now? What do you do with that? What do you do with this? I love this journey that we're on. I love this journey for him, for Siddhartha. What was I going to say? I can't remember. I'll tell you what I'm going to do today. I'm taking the day off. And I'm going to go on a picnic for lunch. You're welcome. You're welcome, Andrew. What else was I going to tell you guys? 3 things cannot be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. And I was just going to tell you, Dr. X, that surely you can tell the times have changed just in the sun, like how long the days are now. Isn't it amazing how long the days are? It was like just a couple days ago, the sun was setting at like 4:00. It felt like. What do we do with this knowledge, this awakening? I want to know. So you know that the darkness is over, and we're entering into a longer period of lightness, and that means action, not, oh my gosh, Dr. X, thank you. This is a time of action, right? This is time to do stuff. We have a whole like 6 months of the year to be introspective and struggle with like our inner selves. And the more struggle, I mean, process, and the more that we do that in the winter and like rest and take time to like be introspective, like the better prepared we are for when the light comes back. I feel like, do we all it's being here on planet Earth, it's experiencing the light that all the other animals and creatures and plants and life experiences on Earth. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I know what I'm going to do. I am going to finish this stupid certification. But it holds no meaning for me now. Holds little to no meaning, because the entire every time I sit down to do it, there's such mental friction that I have, because not necessarily friction, but I think about how to apply what I'm learning with what I want to do, like this specifically this one creative project that I want to do, and I get so antsy, like I know what I need to do, like why am I book learning about this, like, but then how would I know what to do if I hadn't just covered this material? So I'm taking some time this week to plan out my creative project so I don't have that like mental drag, because I just want to daydream about my artwork while I'm trying to get this like very like executive thinking stuff done So I'm taking some time off from that to plan and maybe put into action a few things that I'm doing. But wow, and rather than like beat myself up about like why have I invested so much time and energy into this like certification program that I know like it's not what I want to do with my life. However, um had I not, like I think I would not have felt so empowered to make a plan, and sometimes you have to do things that you don't want to do, um or that isn't part of the like from an outside perspective isn't part of like the path, the plan, just so you know. Oh yeah, like what I was doing before is on path and on plan, and this is not. Like that is a lot of learning and a lot of information, um to download. Like doing stuff and discovering it's not what you want to do is so freaking valuable. Um, anyway, also doing shit that you don't want to do and then um, ac- accomplishing it um, is empowering. Like I flunked this quiz like literally 10 times or more. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I just need to go eat something. Um, and then come back to it. And I did. And like while I was eating whatever, I think it was like bread actually. I was like, what if I'm overthinking this quiz? And what if it's really just super simple and like not that hard and not that like intricate? And I took it again and I passed it 100%. So I went from flunking, having a snack, to passing it 100%. What? Anyway, I'm gonna go. I've been on here almost an hour. Everybody have a wonderful day. Andrew, what was it that I was gonna tell you? I was gonna send you, oh, about Elena. So I'll message you. Um, yeah, but no, don't snicker, guys. I haven't had sugar. I have not had sugar. Can you tell? Am I beautiful now? I haven't had any sugar. And I've run. Let's see. Uh, a little under 6 miles this past week. I'm already ahead of schedule with my water today. We can do this. We can exercise, we can drink water, we can take care of ourselves so that we can do things that we want to do, right? All right, love you guys. I'll see you later.